You're listening to Investigation Insiders by Integris Intelligence.
Welcome back, everyone, for episode number 2 of our newly launched podcast. This is Forhad. Joining me again is Joe Morrow. Joe, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Hi, everybody.
So today, we're lucky. We're joined by our esteemed colleague and friend, John Burke, who wears a couple of hats in our organization. First, he's in charge of our newly opened Florida office, and also he oversees many of our international investigations. Hey, John, thanks for joining us. How are you today?
Hey guys, what's going on? Thanks for having me. This is definitely a interesting new platform for me, and I guess you guys as well.
Absolutely. Yep. Joe and I actually talked about this on our first episode that it's new to both of us, and we wished ourselves luck. And so I guess this time around, good luck to all three of us. So John, maybe you could start with just a brief background on yourself, so everyone kind of knows who you are and what you've done in the past.
Sure. So I've had quite a varied career over the last, I'm sad to say, 20 years, 20 plus years, I think. I got a start in the IRS Criminal Investigation Division as a asset forfeiture specialist. I was in charge of the money that we seized in narcotics operations. So that was, a great first job out of college. I guess I did all right as I was recruited to actually work as a paralegal in the U.S. Attorney's Office in the Eastern District of New York, which is Brooklyn. Excuse me. And then, luckily enough, I kind of got my dream job after that and became a special agent with the United States Secret Service. It was a great experience as a young guy to do that, travel the world. Obviously, did a lot of protection operations. But what most people don't know, in the beginning of your career, in addition to protection, we do a lot of investigations with bank fraud, credit card fraud, counterfeiting, so on and so forth. Spent a few years there, and after that, I got to work on Wall Street and became deputy AML officer, anti-money laundering, for a major financial firm, and did a lot of financial investigations there, filed a lot of suspicious activity reports, and really, used my Rolodex to kind of liaise with my old pals in law enforcement, and did a lot of great cases. And finally, I made my way to Integris, back with Farhad.
Well, I'll tell you what,
That's
man.
as brief as I could be, Farhad. Sorry.
I'm always amazed every time I hear that, and obviously we're very glad to have you, and look forward to this episode of our podcast. So today we're going to talk about something that again seems pretty basic, which is how can you, our clients, help us help you with your investigative needs. So, as John, Joe, we get requests for different kinds of needs all over the globe, right? Oftentimes, we deal with pretty mature organizations that have a robust team, and they come to us with all the information that we need to help with their investigative needs or protection needs or whatever it might be. But we also do get a good amount of requests that are very general in nature, where the client will come to us and say, I need a background check, I need a protection detail, I need an investigation done. And they have very little information to provide us so that we can have more than a theoretical discussion on whether we can help, how we can help, how much time, how much money it's going to cost. So that's what this episode is about. What should you know about when requesting assistance from your investigative partner? How do you help us get you the information you need to make decisions? In almost every single case, almost every single occasion, our clients know more than they realize. And sometimes even the smallest piece of information helps. So I'm going to turn it over to Joe for the next segment to kind of go through the different points here.
Thank you, Farhad. I'd kind of like to review a couple of common requests that'll help demonstrate the kind of information you should be prepared to provide. Obviously, we understand that you might not have everything, but the more you have, the better. John, let's tap into your Secret Service background. If an organization is concerned about the safety of an individual or a group of people during a planned trip, what kind of information would allow you to provide recommendations and a budget for this client?
Sure. So a lot of folks come to us and they need executive protection. This could be, C-suite level executives or, mostly, a lot of wealthy individuals around the world who unfortunately sometimes are the targets of various threats. So when we're planning for a security operation, obviously we want to know, what specific locations they're going to, what is their itinerary. The main reason we really want to know that is because if we know where they're going, there's a good chance that bad actors know where they're going as well. So we want to make sure that we secure those locations. Obviously, we want to know how many people are traveling, how many protectees there'll be. What is the purpose of their travel? Is it for business or pleasure? Is the business something that's going to be contentious? That'd be something we need to know about. How many vehicles they're going to need, how many protective personnel they're going to need, any other special requests they have. Also, obviously, we want to know if there's been any previous threats against the protectee. And also something I think often overlooked is the actual health of the individual, what their medical background is. Oftentimes, in the movies, it's always, the shootout that happens. But in real life, it's actually medical situations of the protectee that we want to, make sure we can get them the best help that they can. We know where the local hospitals are, so on and so forth. So that's really some of the basics that we go over when planning an operation. And really, protection is more about logistics than hopefully anything happening. If anything bad does happen, it means your plan didn't go accordingly. So that's why we always make sure we have a good plan going into it.
Thank you, John. Farhad, I have a question for you. What if someone needs a background check? What would you like to know from the client?
So again, this is obviously a big part of our business, and we always, I can't tell you how many times over the years I get a call saying, hey, I need to know everything I can about Joe Morrow or John Burke or whomever, right? And I need it as quick as possible, and things like that, where the request. And when I was a young investigator in this business, you just kind of ran with it and did what the client asked. What I realized over the years is that it really is important to understand what's going on so that you could not only deliver what the client needs, but do it in a timely manner, an efficient manner, and a cost-effective manner. So a couple of things to think about when you're going to request assistance, right? So where's the location of the individual? Obviously, if it's in the US, there's a process. If it's in a different place outside of the US, there may be different processes, different things that we need, different things that we can get for you. So it's important to understand where that person is from. Now, not only that, but someone may be currently, like we just did a request for someone that thought they needed something in Indonesia. But as it turned out, the person was here in the US for the most part and literally just moved to Indonesia. So the Indonesian portion of it became moot because they literally just moved there. So the location of or locations of where you're going to need assistance. The purpose. Okay, so this is very, very important, right? Is it for employment? Is it for vetting a potential business partner? or acquisition? Is it for something litigation related or an investigation, right? That's important because that's going to dictate a lot of times what can and cannot be done, how much information we can turn over to you, how far we can go with the investigation. Obviously connected to the first part of it, depending on where it is, what we can actually do and get back to you. Another thing we'd like to know is, what's the goal? What are you trying to get from the background research, right? Sometimes, again, going back to my earlier example about, the purpose, right? What is the purpose of the investigation? Sometimes, people come to us and say, hey, we need to know everything we can about it. And like I said, when I was young, we do everything, turn it over. And it turned out that the person only needed to know where, the person was. That's all they were trying to figure out. But we went through all these other things and presented them with all this almost extraneous information just to be able to tell them where the person is currently, right? So tell us what your goal is, because if you tell us what your goal is, then we can actually help you make the investigation more defined, which is probably going to help in terms of cost, in terms of turnaround time, and then getting the information that you need. Consent, right? So are you going to have consent from the individual, or is this being done discreetly? Now, keep in mind that there are places in the world where you can't look into someone's background, or you can only take a very limited look into their background without their consent. So that's important for us to know, because you may be looking for things that are not possible if we don't have that consent. And then, very important, the timeline, right? So we always have a pretty standard timeline when we take on an investigation. Depending on how complex it is, it could be anywhere from a day or two up to several weeks. And the reason we ask for that time is because we need it, right? I mean, we need it to go through the information, analyze it, make connections, all that kind of stuff. So it's important that you express on the front end what your timeline is, because that might impact what can be done, cannot be done based on your requirements. So hopefully that all makes sense. But the more you provide to us, the easier it'll be for us to provide you with what your expectations should be, what the budget is going to be, what the turnaround time is going to be. So I'm going to pass it back to Jo, and she's going to move us on to the next segment.
Thank you, Farhad. To follow up on the general guidelines provided, we want to give you an example of a recent case that we completed. Prior to commencing with the investigation, the client provided some information that helped us get what we needed in an efficient and timely manner. John, can you walk us through the case?
Sure, thanks, Joe. We had a recent case where the corporate security director of a Fortune 500 company contacted us and indicated that the CEO was receiving threatening communications, emails from an individual in the Ukraine. And they came to us and really just wanted to know if this individual was a threat. They didn't specifically need to know everything about this individual, but again, if this individual had the means, the capability to her to protect D, and it was under a tight timeline, as it happens coincidentally or contemporaneously, that the CEO was actually traveling to the region in 2 days. So we had a very tight window to turn around some information. So through our contacts overseas, we were able to locate the individual, and within about 24 hours, we were able to provide the corporate security director the subject's name, address, phone numbers, education, work history, so on and so forth. We were also able to confirm that the individual did not have an actual criminal record in the Ukraine. That was confirmed through our partners that we're able to interface with Ukrainian law enforcement. We also did some interview with the neighbors of the individual and found out he was kind of a low level, small time scammer. And then he was always talking about get rich quick schemes. So this was a low level individual who was basically sitting in his basement writing emails. So not somebody that was really we deemed to be threatening. So we discussed this, with the director of security, and in coordination with them. We agreed that this was not an issue. They proceeded with the trip as needed, and all went as planned. So we got a good example of quick turnaround that we can do pretty much globally through our partnership with other agencies around the world.
So, John, just to follow up and kind of talk about, again, this is an example where the client came to us with specific information that they already had, which we were able to confirm, like you mentioned, but also a very specific request. What was the goal? And I think with their tight timeline, because it was a focused investigation, you'd probably agree that that's what allowed us to get it done. Whereas if it had too many tentacles, it probably would have been much more difficult to accomplish, correct?
Yeah, exactly. That's a great point, Farhad. When the client knows exactly what they want, it really helps us narrow our focus. And I think that's why we were able to be so efficient in this case. Had they wanted a full-blown background investigation on this individual, 48 hours overseas might have been a huge task. But since they were just looking for a yay or nay in the threat assessment, I think we were able to deliver on time.
I guess the next part of it is what we want to conclude with on many of these podcasts is what's the takeaways from our discussion today, right? So first, and I talk about this all the time, you want to put your investigative partner in a position to succeed, right? And to succeed means them getting you the information you need to make the decisions that you have to make. So the best way to do that is be prepared to provide information and answer questions. So gather as much as you can before you reach out. We understand, as mentioned earlier, it's possible that you may not have a lot of information. It's possible that you may not have a lot of time, but the more you provide, the better you'll give your partner a chance to give you the information that you need. You'll also avoid duplication, probably save time, and ultimately probably save money as well. And it's okay if you don't have a lot of information. We realize that the situation may be developing and it's coming together, and you need to sort of launch the investigation or start the process even before you have all the information. So we get that. And then this is a very important thing. Having regular conversations with your partner is critical. This is important after an investigation is completed. Sometimes the results, good or bad, are not indicative of the process, right? A bad process can lead to good results just by luck, right? And a good process could sometimes lead to bad results just by circumstance. In my opinion, I think good processes increases your chances of getting the results you're looking for more often than not. So that's the takeaways on this. We appreciate you joining us again. And again, please provide any feedback that you have. We got a lot of great feedback after the first podcast, and we're looking forward to more. And we thank you for joining us. Joe, John, thanks again for being a part of this, and look forward to future episodes.
Take care, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Don't forget to follow Integris Intelligence on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter.